Sawadee Hello from Bangkok, Thailand. I'm Dr. Thanapong from Chulalongkorn University. In next 10 minutes, I'm gonna go to the PC lecture, the managing of vitreous, my technique. This is my financial disclosures. The outline, I'm gonna go through a little bit of introduction, the checklist, my technique, tip and trick, and the summary. If you compare the PC lecture on the left and on the right hand side is a little bit different. On the right is a little bit bigger and the rupture is not round. If you can make it a little bit rounder, like on the left, it's going to have stronger capsule and it's going to be easier to manage. If you look at the right side of the skin, you might see patient pain clearly with the red color. But actually, when you have PC rupture and vision loss, it's not just only the surgeon pain, it's patient pain, of course. And you need to looking around for the equipment, for the time, for the team that you have, and for the backup plan that might available. To evaluate the PC tear, it's important to limit the injury to the eye, to limit the vision loss, and for further planning. But actually, you do need to evaluate yourself, the surgeon, and also the team around you. The early detection of the PC tear. You can see the signs of the stuttering deepening of the anterior chamber, the pupil snapshot sign, the peak pupil. Another important sign that you might already have the vitreous in the anterior chamber through the PC tear is the decrease of followability of the lens, and eventually sometimes till nucleus and dot nucleus. First of all, don't panic, take a deep breath, looking around. Before you remove the handpiece, it's really important to maintain the AC pressure with the viscoelastic to limit more vitreous loss. And when you maintain the AC pressure, you remove the handpiece, you have more time. Right now, you go and evaluate your experience, you evaluate your team. Do you have enough team? You have enough equipment, or you have any retina friend around you? When you have drop nucleus, don't go through it like the video I show on the right. Another point is no pain surgery. Most of the time we do the cataract surgery with a topical anesthesia. But if you have the PC tear and you need to manage the vitreous, it's a good idea to go with the intercameral subtenon or eventually peri or lateral block. Another point to remove the vitreous properly is to visualize it. We have the thiamcinolone that you can inject into the anterior chamber to visualize the vitreous. Another point is, if you use the thiamcinolone, it's also important to remove it all at the end of the surgery because the thiamcinolone itself can also toxic the corneal endothelium. I'm gonna go through my technique. I'm not gonna talk about the vitrectomy via the main incision because we already know that the bimanual anterior vitrectomy have more advantage. But I'm gonna talk more about the limbo-based bimanual anterior vitrectomy like the picture on the left and the more advantage bimanual anterior vitrectomy that we recommend. Why? It has so advantages. First of all, it's easier to remove the vitreous from the corneal wound. Sometimes you have the vitreous stuck on the wound, both main port or like the side port. It's easier to remove it with the pulmonary anterior vitrectomy. It reduces corneal trauma and it limits intraoperative IOP fluctuation. And most of all that make pulmonary anterior approach is have more advantage is push and pull mechanism. You can infill the eye via the anterior chamber, via the corneal incision at the limbus, and you can move it forward to the sclerotomy via the pulmonary. When you infill via the limbus, it has push mechanism. It push vitreous from the anterior chamber, and it pull mechanism. It pull vitreous by the vitrectomy probe that you go through the sclerotomy at the pulmonary fashions. Some tip and trick. Before the sclerotomy, again, maintain the eye pressure is also the key for the surgery. Info need to be equivalent to the L4. It's a good idea to suture the main incision. Sutureless is also possible. Or another way, you can just suture the main incision and remove it at the end of the surgery. But if your main part strong enough, we also have the trick to do it without suture the main incision. And another trick is to avoid the sclerotomy near the main corneal incision area. This is to use the local subconjunctival anesthesia, and this is I'm not even suture the main incision, but when I go through the pulpana at 3.5 to 4 millimeter from the limbus, we do the 45-degree, go in about 1 and 1.5 millimeter. You perpendicular the trocar, and when I go in, I spin and use the torque to push into the eye. With this technique, you're gonna have less pressure to the eye and less put the eye and less kill the AC pressure well. To do the vitrectomy, first of all, you infuse via the limbo-corneal incision to get put and pull mechanism. The rule is maintain inflow and outflow and minimize the detection. How to? You start with the minimal, maximal cut rate that the machine can do, and you cut with the IA is preferred. You cut before the aspiration to reduce the detection. This is I extend the sideport a little bit, infuse via the anterior chamber. You see the small pieces of the lens in the center is not movable. But I'm gonna show you in the next video how different if we infuse via the sclerotomy from the Papana fashion. To do the vitrectomy, you can switch back and forward. You can remove contact with the aspiration mode. This also helpful because of sometimes when you use the IA before cutting and you put your foot switch too hard, it can change the cut and you can accidentally cut the anterior capsule that you might need for the IR implantation after. Another trick to remove the vitreous and to remove the lens material that left with the vitrectomy is you can increase the vacuum and reduce the cut rate and increase the inflow. Again, when you increase the inflow, you need to make sure that the inflow and outflow is equivalent. This is when we infuse from the posterior, you see the small piece of the lens is moving around because you infuse from the posterior, and with this one, you're not gonna have push and pull mechanism. Another helpful technique is this. We can use cutter off, and we can use the cutter even from the limbo or from the sclerotomy by the pulpana to remove the cortex that's left. Make sure that you remove all the vitreous before you remove the cortex and use the cutter off mode. IOL implantation can be possible if you cut and remove all the vitreous properly. The piece IOL is recommend when you put it in the sulcus, and also you can do the optic capture if you have the good enough capsular access. But eventually, if you do it properly and you make the posterior capsule opening that tear loud enough, strong enough, you can eventually put the one piece IOL in the back. And the trick is you use the viscoelastic to between the anterior capsule and the posterior capsule open enough, big enough. You inject the lens directly into the back and limit the rotation to limit the further tear. In summary, I would like to emphasize you again to manage the PCR properly to avoid the PC rupture, dot nucleus, and retinal detachment like you see here. Early detection the PC tear, maintain the pressure, careful evaluation, no pain procedure, avoid trauma, be gentle with vitreous, make opening round and strong enough, and you can eventually implant the IOL in the back and possible multi-authoric IOL. Thank you everyone for listening. Yes, it's a tear, but no tear. Thank you again everyone and also the APSCIS committee for the invitation. สวัสดีครับ